All right. Good morning, class. We're going to talk about how to lay out a vineyard. A lot of people go out and lay out a vineyard and they'll just eyeball it. They never take any measurements. They put their posts in the ground. They back up and get their post out, and they back up and look at it, and it's like, wow. You've got lines going this way, and you've got rows going that way. The wire's not straight. There's nothing symmetrical about it. This morning we're going to talk about how to actually lay one out and get a good right angle so that all your posts are in a straight row this way and all your posts are in a straight line this way. And we're going to do it a very simple method. We're going to use what we call the 3-4-5 rule, or a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We're not going to have a big math class of any sorts, but you can use that formula to get a right angle. And everyone remembers from their math class a right angle is 90 degrees, which will tell you that your posts are straight this way and this way. If you accomplish that feat, it will not matter at what point you walk out to your vineyard and look. You can look at 45-degree angles and your posts will line up that way. You can look straight across, they will line this way, and they'll line up across the ends, which makes for something beautiful. I mean, if you're going to spend the time to put in post and wire and vines, it's worth spending the time to get it laid out correctly so that it looks good when you're all said and done. What I brought this morning to class is actually a map, and I tried to highlight it in yellow, but I don't know how well you guys can see it. This is just a map of the property next door where the actual vineyard is. And if you look across the bottom here, there's one straight line in the whole field. Does everybody see that? Okay, so that straight line that you see going across is parallel with the parking lot. So it was just an obvious choice to actually lay the vineyard out parallel to the parking lot, because to me I could get the majority of posts in that piece of ground. Now as we go out there and look today, we'll see that we already have some rows out there, and we're going to use those as kind of a starting point. But what I want to talk about this morning is how you would actually square up a vineyard. And to do that, at some point you have to have a starting point. Our starting point out here was a post. We put the first post in the ground. And from that post, we pulled our first line down parallel with the parking lot. I actually used the parking lot and marked off, I can't remember, it was somewhere around 50 or 60 feet out to the first post. Then I went down 100 foot and went out another 50 foot off again. So I knew I was straight or parallel with the parking lot. Now you may be saying, what can I use at home? Maybe it's a ditch. If you've got a field, the ditch may be your reference point. But what I did was set my first post in the ground. And let me kind of draw you what I did. All right. We know we have a parallel line or property line out there in that field. All right, we'll say this is the woods down at the back of the property. What we did was set our first post here. Okay? That was our first post. That was our starting point. All right, we knew that we were 50 feet from the edge of the parking lot. All right, so I went down and set my second post $50 feet. Okay? So now we have two posts that are set. You pull a string or a chain or whatever you want to use. I use string. nylon string. And it's very much like laying off a building. You're doing basically the same thing. But I pulled a string and I had it very tight so that it was exactly straight. All right. Get that out of the way. All right, so that will get our row straight this way. But how do you get your row straight that way and have or form a 90-degree angle right here? Does anybody know? Well, that's where your 3, 4, 5 rule comes in, or your A squared, B squared, C squared rule. Okay? What would you do? Well, let me give you an example. You can go down 3 foot here, 4 foot here, and connect. Can everybody see that? I should have drawn that a little larger. And measure from here to here, and how far should that be? 5 foot. Okay? If it is, then you know you have a 90-degree angle. However, why would you want to do it that small? You wouldn't. You'd want to do a multiple of that. So what's a multiple of that? 30, 40, 50. Very good. So we go down 30 feet. We go down 40 feet. And we pull it here, and you should be 50 feet, right?